At Dot and Company, we believe that all agencies deserve amazing account managers and that all of those account managers deserve to be supported, encouraged, and loved on. That's why we started CAM Community, a membership only for account managers. And inside, you'll gain access to the exact training we use to train our own client facing account managers, but also access to all of our SOPs, processes, and live trainings on a variety of topics. If you're an account manager, this is the place you've been waiting for. Learn more at dotandcompany.co/CAM community.
So there's so many different management principles of great account management that can be connected to having an objective, documented plan.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot and Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
Well, Corey, welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, we've been talking about having you on the podcast for a couple of months now and finally got around to it. So I'm super pumped to talk all things agency life and an exciting launch that's coming up in the summer. So I'm excited to dig into that as well. But why don't you give us the Coles Notes version of how you got here in this wild agency owner seat and kind of your story? Fill us in.
Sure. I will give you the short version of it. Started my career in project management. Didn't realize I was also wearing an account management hat at a small agency that was a digital spinoff of a traditional one. That was before the days of open source web and everything else. So picked up some HTML skills, then moved into search engine optimization and broader search, and then had email marketing experience and ended up in Voltage when it was Voltage Creative. That was 2013. We kind of morphed into a digital agency, dropped the creative off the name, and you fast forward on down the road, and I worked my way up in the agency. We had tremendous growth. Ultimately was leading a lot of the new business. I was chief strategy officer, became president, and worked through a succession plan with one of the original co-founders. And I am a couple of years into being the sole owner right now.
Amazing. That's such a cool journey. And I don't think a lot of people take that path where they work their way up and then end up being the owner. Usually people start their own agency and are an accidental agency owner, but that's really cool that you were on a path and then here you are now owning it. So let's kind of talk about how you work with agencies, because I know that's a huge piece of what you do is you actually go into an agency and help serve their clients. Walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have full disclosure. We do have our own direct, end clients. But over the last few years, the percentage of agency to agency work we have has really skyrocketed. Some of that has been due to the fact that we've niched down. And so we only do two things. We do search, both sides of search, organic and paid, as well as websites. And so that's made us a lot easier probably to understand from the outside, not as much overlap or perceived overlap with our partners, and allowed us to really go deep in subject matter. So in some cases, some of our agency partners will have capacity issues and we'll just be able to take some projects off of their plate. But in a lot of areas where we bring the most value is in our subject matter expertise or depth of it and stability and consistency around it. We've had some national agencies and still continue to partner with them, or international agencies who realize that their SEO depth is lacking, or they need a partner to really handle the nuances and expertise required to run paid search at the level that they need for ROI accountability with their clients. So in many cases, that's through a lot of relationships, referrals, case studies, or trusted connections that those start. But then getting in deep and exposing them to the experts on my team and working closely with them has worked really well for us. What's great for us is that we'll always be professional, but we don't have to be overly formal. We can be really efficient with the time that we spend and invest on the client side and work closely with them to make sure that we're delivering to expectations. From an account management standpoint, we don't have to have as big of an account management staff because we can rely on our client, in this case, who is the agency, to do that. But we understand that role well, having our own set of clients and knowing all the nuances of being an agency ourselves, so we can empathize and understand how to present things and how to help solve problems as well.
That's so cool. And I think you hit the nail on the head where capacity is such an issue in our world. Like you hit this point where you're like, listen, I want to take on 10 new clients, but I don't have the capacity to be able to do that. So leveraging people who already are up to speed, similar to when people come to us, they're like, I don't have time to train somebody on account management. They don't have time to train someone on SEO in the depth of what you guys already know. So that's really cool. So it's great to have people in our network who like you can help serve other agencies. What's going on with AI? I know that you and I kind of talked about this before, but how is AI impacting the work you're doing?
It is tremendously. We've got an internal task force where we meet regularly and share. So we're not all testing. Well, we are testing 50 different tools and custom GPTs and things at the same time, but to make sure that it's not out of control and we understand and we're sharing the learnings across the agency. Of course, we have our own concerns about how, we use AI on client things and making sure that confidential information is protected and all the legal aspects that are still emerging. But in terms of research and ideation and efficiencies and speeding up processes so we can provide more value back to our clients and do more faster is awesome. I was actually challenged a year and a half ago or so when we started our path of niching down heavily into search and web. A couple of colleagues who own different agencies in the space said, that's pretty bold that you're going heavily or all in on search. What do you think, is it going to die? And, SEO has been proclaimed to be dying or dead so many times. And my perspective is if this is what actually finally kills it, now we're optimizing for AI and search generative, results and things like that. Great. Or if it evolves again and it's still the name of the industry and what we do, we'll evolve with it. And so there's a balance between doing what works well today and staying with it, but not putting your head in the sand as to what's coming, and also not chasing the shiny object of it and forgetting about what works today and how things are, as there's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back with all the technology pieces involved. At the end of the day, ultimately, what clients care, there will always be a brand out there who wants to be found by their target audience. And if it's a search results page or like with the emergence in the past 20 years of social media and everything else, there's always a channel and an avenue. And we're just here to help people be found.
I love that. And I think the key is you're utilizing it in a way that just makes sense for your clients and being more efficient and leveraging it in a way that just makes sense. But I think a lot of agencies that I've been hearing, they just don't know how to use it right. They're like, should I use AI? Should I not use AI? Is it, going to deteriorate my results? And I think the key message here is like, you have to work with the right people who know how to leverage these tools so that you're not working against it, you're working with it.
Yeah. And there's so many great resources out there for agencies on AI. And so I won't even try to run down the list, but there's so many different communities, agency focused communities and examples. The hard thing is like the imposter syndrome and feeling like you're behind. We're all behind. There's guilt for all of us. We all feel like we're behind because it's such an open-ended universe. And so just understanding and getting forward momentum and testing and utilizing and looking at what other people are doing and seeing success in is key. And I'm saying that because that was my challenge in the first 4 or 5 months.
Yep, I feel you. So let's kind of talk about how you've grown, and obviously you've learned so many things of what to do and not to do in our world, but you took a lot of these learnings and you put them into your success plan, and which is now your book. And I know that you use this for a lot of your clients. So walk us through kind of how you got here and how you use this to help your clients.
Yeah. So the book comes out this summer. It's called The Digital Marketing Success Plan. I grabbed the trademark for that last year, but basically I'm unpacking in the book the process that we go through here at Voltage, but that really is part of the framework going back early in my career of how we would set up and get a strategy developed for doing SEO. It's broader, it's a full digital marketing spectrum, but the goal in it, and what's funny is that I've got maybe 10 stories throughout. And these are stories where I had the opportunity to change the names of the companies and people involved. Yeah, but most of them are my personal stories, and some of them are pain stories of things that I went through. Like the first time, what I thought was going to be a great SEO meeting with a client, I had a report that had, rankings and traffic and conversions all up and right where I thought they were targeted to be. Get to the end of that meeting, and the client looks over and says, "Corey, that's all great, but," and he was an attorney. He's like, "I didn't get a single new case." Even with all those phone calls and everything and form submissions, they didn't get a single new case. And that was a big moment for my career a long time ago, of understanding that just sitting on the marketing side of the table and throwing metrics over there, even if they're the right metrics, doesn't necessarily equate to the ROI that our clients are expecting. And you never want to leave that gap. So that's a really painful one. I unpack in more detail there, but there's so many different stories and examples that I go through of that I used to kind of make sure that I put together the most comprehensive digital marketing strategy process I could. Now, the intent is that this is a 90 or 120 day process. This isn't a year-long process of getting ready to get ready, and then you never can actually have any learnings. But there's a temptation in search to jump in and just learn as you go. And Google will take your money, and agencies, mine included, we're not perfect either, are billing you and taking the dollars, whether it's set up for the best chance of success or not. And would you rather spend a few dollars on the front end or spend a few dozen dollars on the back end, learning some of the same things and burning through 6 or 12 months and then thinking maybe it doesn't work or your agency sucked or whatever it is? Somebody's getting fired, and somebody's going to have a bad taste in their mouth, when you could have taken just a moment and gone through a more robust process to get set up for success. And understand that, is this even the right channel? We're a Google partner agency, and Google ads are part of a lot of different strategies, but is that the right channel? We need to take a step back out of it and look at the mix and look at all the research and understand what gives us the best shot and the best opportunity for return on investment.
I love it. And I think the key here is taking all the mistakes maybe that you've learned in your career and putting them into a guide for people who want to not make those mistakes or just think differently when they're talking about client strategy. I think I'm excited to read it because I think it's just going to open my eyes to different ways of thinking. And I think that is really key. And obviously a lot of people listening to this are account managers. So we're the ones actually talking to clients about their campaigns and their goals and their results. So why should an account manager read this book, and what do you think they're going to get out of it?
Yeah, I think there will be a lot that will resonate, because the initial phase of the 5-step start, and it's an acronym, planning process, is strategy. And that's really heavy because we have so many clients who will come in and tell you a number or a goal or a KPI that matters to them, but not necessarily, and I'm not bashing anyone here on the client side or anywhere. They'll either be excited and say, "Hey, here's our KPI. Let's go throw a bunch of money. Let's do this thing." Or where the starting point we get often is challenging or maybe an impossible task to reach. And so being able to push deeper into the conversation, challenge some of the assumptions in an objective way and not a personal or emotionally charged way, is really helpful. And many times those stakeholders around the table on the client side aren't on the same page either, or aren't defining their own terms the same way, or they're using nomenclature that doesn't match up with the marketing metrics. There's so many different examples. Or maybe in their mind, they think we're going to do $10,000 a month in this channel. Well, why? It's easy for us to just take that and run with it and have peace and harmony early. But then
Mhm.
that's where things, like I mentioned a minute ago, get further down the road and can be a little bit more challenging because it's hard to challenge something or tell them after they burn through a bunch of cash that was the wrong thing. So getting things objective on paper and have a source of truth is critical to so much within account management. And so being able to remind them back to what we all agreed upon early on. And anytime there's a change or a shiny object that's coming our way, it's like, time out. How does this change what we agreed to there? Because or where do we reverse or change our scope related to that too? So there's so many different management principles of great account management that can be connected to having an objective documented plan. So there's a lot in there and some great tools and templates that will help for being able to get it on paper, ask the right questions, challenge assumptions, and work through that process. Most great agencies have a pretty robust process already, but there might be a couple of slices or gaps or ahas in here that, even if you're a competitor of mine, for that end client, I don't care. I want us to be, able to hold clients to a higher standard as well as ourselves.
I love it. And we're on the same page there, right? Like the highest of high standards is what we're all trying to get to. And by utilizing tools like your book, we can all continue to learn and get better and ask better questions and create better processes. So I'm super excited to get my hands on it. Corey, where can people find your book and potentially reach out to you and learn more about what your agency's up to?
Yeah. So the agency side of things, that's voltage.digital. That's simple. That's where you can find us and see what we do there. The book website is the dmsp.com. That's for Digital Marketing Success Plan. So the dmsp.com. You can find a way to subscribe there for updates as it drops and some tools that we're adding and templates and resources that will be there. Or for any other opportunities, corymorris.com is great as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Corey, for coming on the show. Can't wait to read your book. I'm super excited for that. So definitely keep us posted. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me.
Thanks, Taylor.
Cheers to happy clients.